A woman with long red hair stands in front of a menacing dark mansion in the rain. She, all wet from the rain, takes a gold coin into her mouth. The hand of an unknown person reaches out to a metal fence. The main character walks through the room. The room is shrouded in the blue light of the moon penetrating through the stained glass windows. A woman lies with her hair down. She's back. She was 17 again, as on the previous page. For the first 10 rotations, the girl hoped that one day it would end. For the next 20, she was only concerned with escaping from inevitable death. After another 30, everything became familiar. After 100 rotations later, only fatigue remained. After so many spins, the main character even forgot her name. The maid calls Miss with concern because it's time for her to wake up. A figure in dark clothing stands at the foot of the bed, looking at the sleeping girl named Karen. She needs to get ready. A joyful woman opens the curtains in a bright room and cheerfully exclaims that today is her mistress's birthday. A red-haired woman with purple eyes and a serious expression says that it is not her real birthday. A large open book on the table with shimmering pages. A woman lies in her bed. One day she woke up in a novel and has been in it for 117 years. A girl in a pink dress holds a book, standing under flower arches. This book describes a banal love story. Karen Hare, the only daughter of her father, dreams of true feelings. A woman with red hair and a fluffy pink dress looks fearfully at a male figure in the shadows. She needs to end her relationship with her fiancé. The main character becomes the maid of an aristocrat's daughter. Karen, dressed as a maid, sits on the floor, suffering humiliation and ridicule. An unknown person extends an open-gloved hand. The main character and a blonde man in formal clothes are hugging, surrounded by red roses. The couple dances, hugging against a background of flowers. But in the end, the heroine finds true love. The guy and Karen rest their foreheads. They are happy with each other. The girl lies unconscious on the floor. Blood flows from her, forming a rose. On the last page, the heroine must die by drinking poisoned wine. A book with a red cover lies peacefully on the table. No one touches it. The pages of the book turn violently, as if the book is breathing, living its own life. A scream breaks out against the background of the rain, and the main character holds her throat, looking down in fear. A year ago, Karen sits under a tree on a rainy day, her arms wrapped around her knees, her exhausted eyes barely open. She hugs a blonde man in military uniform. The girl overcame her fear to reunite with a guy named Raymond. But there is one problem. The shadow of an axe falls on the main character's face. She looks at it without any emotion. An axe wrapped in rope against a background of bloody splashes. The end remains the same. A row of uniformed butlers stand in the same position, their faces not visible. Regardless of who Karen connects her life with, even with no one, the outcome cannot change. 3 women in blue dresses run to the aid of their mistress who is falling from the window. The main character stands opposite her killer, blood streaming down her face and dress. A red trail of blood smeared behind her. The girl sits on the floor in shock, blood covering her hands, face, and dress. She swims underwater in a pink dress, her red hair fluttering in the water. The girl with the red one stands in shock among the lights and smoke that has engulfed the room. She cries loudly. Karen always ends up in an empty garden, with a coin in her mouth every time. The main character sits in bed, looking at another coin. She says that this coin is the 100th. The maid looks in surprise at the sparkling coin in the girl's hand. She asks what it is. Karen yawns, but still explains that it's just a good luck charm. The same maid asks if the girl is really into this kind of thing. She says that she likes to tell fortunes with a coin and offers to try it. If it is an eagle, then everything will turn out great for Karen, and she will be an exemplary young lady. The main character is surprised, holding a coin in her hand, saying that she understood everything. The coin is tossed into the air. There is silence, and breathing slows in anticipation of the result. Karen looks worried, while another woman with dark hair looks at her palm with interest. A girl with red hair looks into the reflection of the water. If she gets heads, then everything will be bad. And she doesn't want that to happen. The main character, in a state of despair, leans over the sink, thinking about suicide. A tense atmosphere appears. The maid, entering the bathroom, appears shocked by her mistress's actions, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. The woman consoles Karen, who is still upset, asking if she feels bad about her marriage. She has been engaged to the same man since she was a child. No one understands her better than him. The main character stops her maid named Nancy. The maid's hand is still on her mistress's head. Karen proposes an exchange of partners. The young man of her maid is quite handsome. The girl will give up her boyfriend named Dulan. The maid is very worried when she hears this. She doubts the sanity of the main character. It turns out that the girl was just joking. She understands that if he even touches her man with a finger, the maid will definitely kill her. There are various cosmetics on the table. No matter how many times Karen is reborn, it is always painful. For the umpteenth time, she is preparing to become an adult. A woman with dark hair smiles and asks a question for whom her mistress is dressing up. Perhaps there is another man. The main character puts on this suffocating corset for the 100th time. Nancy helps tighten it and says that she always wished only the best for the girl. A woman in an elegant dress stands in front of a mirror, asking about her appearance. There are many people standing in the ballroom, some staring at Karen with their mouths open. A man in a blue suit with a dissatisfied expression on his face meets the eyes of the main character. She once again sees her hated fiancé. The girl with red hair seems pretty exhausted. His face shows no emotion. It's not appropriate for a young lady to make such a face in front of her future husband, but Karen has no reason to love Dulan. The man looks gloomily at his bride, who asks if he got caught in the rain while getting there, also clarifying that he is not her husband. Puddles are visible under the man's feet. Karen believes that true love is not about him. He reflects on the traditional values of a good wife. Holding a glass of wine, he says that a wife should be submissive, faithful, and attentive to her husband's words. There is a festive atmosphere in the ballroom, but the main character has seen this many times before. The musicians are playing their instruments. They have rehearsed this song many times. Today there will be a coming-of-age ceremony for the main character. A girl with a thoughtful expression on her face and wearing exquisite earrings looks up somewhere, thinking that she is in hell. The man gloomily looks at his bride and asks her to return to reality. Coming out of her thoughts, the girl tries to force herself to accept reality. The girl's expression softens, perhaps showing a moment of vulnerability or awareness. Karen tries to convince herself that the guy is her destiny. She asks him what he meant. Dulan holds a glass of drink in his hand, drops of cold sweat running down his face. Two hands hold each other. Everything around is the same. Even if someone doesn't like it, then there is no choice. A man in a black suit and a woman in a purple dress dance at a ball with an inscription. This is their 69th dance together. The boyfriend stepped on his lady's foot for the 45th time. The servant broke the glass for the 78th time. A dissatisfied man asks the main character to smile. Dulan explains that this is necessary because everyone is laughing at him. People around are whispering. The girl looks forward without emotion. Karen Hare is pitied for the 100th time. The man's expression is pained. He hates being taken for a fool. The girl is not surprised by this. The main character thinks that everything at this ball is the same as always. But suddenly, something attracts her attention. The girl takes Dulan by the collar of his sweater and pulls him towards her. This is the 100th coming-of-age ceremony. Karen calls the man with her, but he resists and insists on waiting. A man in a black suit follows a girl in a lilac dress through a richly decorated hall, something she has never tried before. Dulan is indignant and tries to find out where she is taking him. The main character smiles widely and says that the couple is already engaged. The man looks confused and worried. He doesn't understand anything. The ornate double doors are slightly open. Only Karen will remember. The man is shown looking up with an expression of surprise. He still does not understand what is about to happen. The girl's hand is unraveling her hair. She wants to try something new. The main character leans over a lying and frightened man. A grin can be seen on her face. The man looks at the main character, standing next to his face with flowing hair. Karen smiles widely as she tells her fiancé to take off his clothes. A man with dark hair and a confused expression. His gaze is directed downward, and a faint glow highlights his features against the gloomy background. The girl adjusts her hair in the mirror. Her pose radiates confidence. There is silence in the room. Karen still continues to look in the mirror, and her fiancé straightens his clothes. The man turns away, looking over his shoulder with a dissatisfied expression on his face, perhaps regret or thoughtfulness. He says that this was not his initiative. The main character appears pensive and slightly disappointed, expressing awareness or resignation about her expectations. The girl clasps her boyfriend's hand, asking him to take her to the ballroom. The couple stands together, the man looking resigned and the woman looking upset or worried, and they have 3 more dances to go. Several strangers whisper that if it weren't for the right of inheritance, Karen would not have had to marry Doolin. The conversation continues in a more colorful setting. The woman heard that the girl is selling property for educational purposes. The couple stands opposite each other. Doolin and the girl look at each other. Tension is noticeable in their body language. The heroine's gaze is averted, and the man's posture is tense, as if in a moment of conflict or disagreement. The guy hesitantly offers to dance to a girl in a purple dress against a festive background. Karen turns around with a surprised expression, reflecting on the lack of any romantic tension. The third woman secretly watches the couple, wondering what they are taught in the monasteries. The main character looks at her partner with a lack of understanding of the situation. Doolin, with a resigned look, intends to erase all the jokes from strangers. The guy flinches and drops his drink when the waiter bumps into him from behind. He loses his balance and falls to the ground, causing a commotion in the background. Karen looks down at him as he falls. She knew this would happen. She watches the other couple with a cynical gaze. They poke their hand at the couple and discuss them. The main character reflects with a slight smile that everything is happening as it should, implying a sense of inevitability. Despite all the circumstances, the girl gives Doolin a helping hand to help him get up. The guy looks at her arrogantly, as if saying with his gaze that he doesn't need help. Karen turns out to be persistent. This facial expression does not scare her. She continues to stand with her hand outstretched in front of her. People in the background discuss the couple's failures and look at everything that happens from the outside. The main character thinks that now her fiancé will pour wine on the servant. The girl will of course be shocked by such cruelty. The girl's hand is still in a friendly gesture of help near Doolin's face. The guy gets up, not paying attention to her, and tells the servant to get lost. The man apologizes and quickly leaves. The main character looks at her groom in disbelief. She did not expect such a reaction from him. Doolin takes his bride's fingers in his hand, shyly offering to continue the dance. People around say in whispers that the man is not even ashamed. But the girl doesn't care what others say. She is delighted that her fiancé first suggested that the guy continue. She is happy that Doolin, who has not changed for 99 years, has suddenly changed. Karen smiles widely and hopes that if this detail has changed, then everything else will change. Surrounded by a halo of roses, Karen looks stunning, her red hair and violet eyes complementing her appearance. Sitting in a contemplative pose, the girl thinks that, having been in this body for 100 years, she has noticed a couple of patterns. Karen always appears in the forest, standing in a gloomy setting among the bare trees. Secondly, after living for 1 year, she dies and returns to the beginning. Thirdly, every time a coin with a certain number appears in the main character's mouth. The girl sits in front of the mirror and thinks that perhaps by breaking the system, she can stop everything. In order to change the course of events, Karen tried to gain weight by eating a huge pile of food. She also ran away from home and did charity work, distributing freshly baked bread to poor children and adults. The girl also tried to commit suicide before the end of the year, but nothing worked. 2 women dressed as maids, one washing dishes and insisting that it is the other's turn, are arguing over household chores. An upset Karen lies in bed and dreams of revenge, expressing her desire to leave the bed. Suddenly, the coin falls out of the main character's hands, falling and rolling on the floor. The girl looks towards the coin that just fell and thinks about who she should take revenge on. She sits on a stool. Her hand is tiredly lowered down. The girl considers it unfair to punish people for deeds that have not yet been completed. Suddenly, the palm clenches into a fist. Even if Karen begins to take revenge, nothing will change. An open book with intricate patterns, the 48th life. Karen, looking wounded and distraught, begs for help from a stern-looking guy. But he says that he has already carried out disinfection. He will not bandage it. In this life, Doolin broke off the engagement and refused to treat the girl. The girl lay in bed for a year. A servant looked after her. A year later, the main character dies. The cause of this was blood poisoning caused by the bite of a wild boar. An open book with illegible text, 58th Life. The girl with blonde hair is Karen's rival named Isla. She is very angry, realizing that the main character stole her boyfriend. The main character strongly resists, screaming that she didn't do anything, even though the girl didn't kill her directly, but she had to endure something worse than death. Isla orders her subordinates to pour boiling water on her. Now, with such a face, no one will love Karen. The girl screamed heart-rendingly in pain, but no one tried to save her from the martyrs. She died from burns. An open book with intricate patterns, the 18th Life. Verdict Evans is the father of Isla. The man entered the room holding an axe in his hand. He is a complex nightmare, waiting for the moment of happiness to destroy everything. A man with blonde hair stands menacingly with an axe, swinging at the poor and frightened girl. If she stole his daughter's happiness, she must pay in full. Karen's body lies on the ground in a pool of blood, Verdict breaking her neck with a blunt axe. Many human silhouettes are watching the main character. They all want her death. A girl with red hair sits on the floor in a brightly lit room with elegant furniture. She looks at a coin lying on the floor. There are two maids standing in the room. One is washing the dishes, and the other is holding the laundry. The girl says that even though they have done nothing in this life, she will not forget their sins. The offenders in this life do not remember how they harmed the main character by killing her, but she remembers everything. The coin still stands edge-on the floor. Even though Karen will have to take revenge on an endless number of people, she has a lot of time. She kneels and examines the coin and thinks about why the idea of how U-200 boy, U-200 revenge did not come to her mind earlier. The girl would like to do something bad in this life. Revenge would be a good option for this. The main character is upset that before she was not aware of the thoughts that now came to her mind. Karen and her fiancé are experiencing a tender moment. Before, the girl thought that only love changes the world and people. The couple hugs. They are happy with each other. The main character believes that this is not the answer. The girl furiously crushes the roses that were previously in the vase. People are changed not by love, but by death. Karen smiles serenely. She feels relieved. On her 117th birthday, the main character decides to become a killer. On the borders of the air empire, a horse falls. Its knee is broken, and it will no longer be possible to get up. The blonde man's name is Verdict Evans. He is a loan shark, and in every possible way shows that the situation causes him negative emotions. A gloved hand knocks on the closed door. An unknown voice shouts to Isela and asks her to come out. Isla Evans is the daughter of Verdict Evans. The girl yawns and asks what's wrong. Opening the door, the man extends his hand to his daughter and says that she will have to walk from this place. Walking to her destination, the girl puffs from fatigue, muttering to herself that she won't come here again. Her father calmly says that these places have very fertile soil. Here you can harvest an excellent harvest. There are few people, so the cost of landscaping are low. The man takes Isel by the hand and says that if they get these lands, he will let his daughter rule them. He continues to say this event will serve as a good lesson before marriage. The girl is embarrassed and hopes that Raymond will notice her if she is a good manager. Isla smiles happily and promises her father that she will become a diligent mistress for these people. On a neatly tidied street stands a lonely church, the rays of the sun streaming along its walls. Verdict informs his servants and other people that the negotiations are completed, so now he can rest easy. After listening to him, the man replies that now they will see each other in another 6 months. The man replies that his time will cost dearly. Isla stands behind her father, embarrassed from awkwardness. The girl hopes that he is joking. The heroine examines her surroundings, looks around and thinks that the church looks very decrepit. The girl thinks that she will fix everything here as soon as the verdict gives her these lands. Two personalities in the background are whispering, discussing something. They are really waiting for something. Isela turns in their direction, following the girls with her eyes. The heroine does not understand how they can consider the church beautiful, but something interrupts her thoughts. A girl enters a crowded hall, looking at the glass mosaic, looking at it and the people around. Isela looks at the people with great surprise and indignation, not understanding why they are all crowded here. Her gaze stops at the charming red-haired girl. The heroine catches herself thinking that Karen looks like an angel. Isla wants to call out to the main character. She is the daughter of Lord Hare. The girl pays attention to Karen's appearance. Her clothes are worn and there is no jewelry on her. She looks at the main character and tries to understand why she is so angry with her. Isla decides that this girl will become her personal scapegoat. Doolin is standing at the table, reading the gospel for other people. Karen sits peacefully on the bench with her hands folded in her lap, her eyes closed and silently praying. After finishing the reading, the guy reports that the prayer service is over. The girl sighs and says that God has never listened to her prayers. Doolin puts his hand on the shoulder of the main character and with a serious face asks her not to desecrate the sacrament of the prayer service with her heresy. The main character thinks that his presence on this podium is a great insult. Suddenly, the girl is distracted from her thoughts by a voice. He greets her and calls her by name. "This is Isla Evans," she introduces herself. The heroine is pleased to meet Karen. She asks who is next to the girl. She introduces Dusan, saying that he is her fiancé. Isla replies that she heard information about the imminent marriage of the main character, but did not expect that she would marry such a person. The heroine thinks that no matter how beautiful Karen is, her destiny is to vegetate with her priest in this wilderness. With feigned kindness, the girl compliments this heroine and says that even though her life is far from ideal now, she hopes that she will live happily. Doolin looks embarrassed and surprised, but Karen is not at all embarrassed by these words. She smiles sweetly and thanks Lady Evans. The main character examines Isela, not accepting her choice to come to church in such luxurious clothes. The girl looks at Evans's dress, comparing her skirt to a bell. Karen is visited by evil thoughts. She wonders if she hangs the heroine by the neck and shakes her, will she begin to flicker a verbal bell? She wonders if it will make the same beautiful sound. The blonde girl calls the main character by name, indicating that she cannot take her eyes off her neck. Isla thinks Karen was looking at the necklace, and so says that her fiancé gave it to her. The girl smiles sweetly, but Doolin does not understand why his bride pays attention to material wealth. The main character imagines a hanged girl. She believes that this necklace is ideal as a rope for hanging. It's getting dark outside. The body lies on the bed, motionless. Karen looks at him and says that if the girl's necklace was made from piano strings, she would have ended her life with it. The lady's gaze is directed at the corpse. She smiles and asks the girl not to be disappointed. The necklace lies in a cold hand. The main character promises to put it on Isola's corpse. Dawn has painted the sky orange. The day is just beginning. Karen's subordinates are happy that the girl smiles radiantly for the first time in a long time. She walks, hopping cheerfully, according to people that day. Her steps were like the dance of the goddess of spring. Soap bubbles and flower petals are flying everywhere. The girl smiles widely and laughs. The main character could not tear a single petal with her own hands that day. The girl's bloody hands hold the necklace given to Isel by her fiancé. Karen laughs very loudly and literally glows with happiness. Today, she committed her first murder. Isla searches around the room in a panic, looking at every corner. She shouts that she was wearing the jewelry when she went to church. The maid enters the room, calmly announcing that she has brought water for washing. The girl's room is in complete chaos and disorder. She nervously asks her subordinate who brought her last night. The maid begins to explain that Isla fell asleep during the meeting. The girl screams hysterically, repeatedly asking where her necklace is. The servant looks at the heroine with complete misunderstanding of the situation. She says that the decoration is missing. The maid calmly explains that she put all her mistress's clothes in the closet. Isla rushes to her clothes, trying to find the item she lost in the evening. The maid continues to do her business. She pours water into the basin, and the girl shouts that the necklace is not in the closet. The subordinate, smiling, says that if the decoration is not visible, then nothing can be done. She points to a bowl of water and asks the girl to wash herself, because breakfast will arrive soon. Isla stomps her foot aggressively, shouting at the maid. She asks how she dares behave like that towards her. The heroine slaps her servant in the face, and strong indignation is visible on her face. The girl falls to the floor in pain, bowing her head down. Isla asks if she stole it. She asks the girl to find her jewelry immediately. Karen knocks on the door, entering the room of a blonde girl, who asks why they are making so much noise. Isla, hysterical, replies that her necklace is missing. She explains that she suspects their maid of stealing the jewelry. The maid denies her guilt. The blonde looks at what is happening with a worried expression on her face. Karen says authoritatively, covering her mouth with a gloved hand, so that Isola orders the rest of the servants to look for him around the house. But for now, let her get ready for breakfast. The heroine is surprised and puzzled, wondering why they look at her in a certain way. The girl with red hair stands confidently, declaring that Nancy is her personal maid. She hopes that her interlocutor understands this. The maid looks out of the large window in the brightly lit corridor, seemingly confused by the noise that has just arisen. Outside the large building, the servants, looking for the necklace, discuss the situation and think that the girl should take better care of her things. In a dark room, a blonde woman suggests searching in the attic, while a man sits thoughtfully in a chair. The father, with blonde hair and a black suit, expresses confusion and denial. He is not going to jeopardize the deal for the sake of bling. Isola speaks to him, explaining that it was a gift from Raymond. The man is deep in thought, touching his chin, because this is just a necklace, not a wedding ring. The heroine looks at him with a sad and pleading expression on her face. The girl holds her hands on her knees, shaking violently. She doesn't understand why she feels so uneasy. The unfortunate son of the Baron became a military hero. It's strange that he chose them. Raymond could have been taken higher. He is indebted to this family, so knowing his character, they will not run away. The father sits on his knees in front of Isela and offers to get her exactly the same one. But the girl replies that she doesn't need something similar. She demands exactly the necklace that Raymond gave her. He gets up, straightening his clothes, and says that it is his daughter's fault. She should have taken better care of her things. Isola walks down the long corridor of her estate, thinking that if Raymond finds out that she lost his gift, he will definitely be disappointed in her. The girl is in despair. Her gaze is empty and directed to nowhere. She is tired of it. Approaching one of the doors, the heroine hits her head on it. She wants to leave here. Opening the door, she sees a dark corridor. Bloodstains are visible everywhere. Looking at the room, Isela arrives in shock. She expected to see this. There's a necklace on one of the beds. The heroine notices it and directs her gaze there. Suddenly, something greatly surprises the blonde, and she gasps. She sees the severed head of the maid Karen, and around it lies the decoration Isola needed. The emotion of shock and horror is visible on the face of the blonde girl. She does not understand what she is doing here. The heroine's dress and shoes are smeared with blood. It seems to her that this is all a dream. Isola experiences extreme fear. She is on the verge of hysteria and does not understand when everything took such a turn. The heroine regrets that she slapped her, because now the maid named Nancy is dead. The girl trips over her feet, wondering what the servant is doing in her room, because she doesn't even remember her name. She falls to the floor, hitting herself hard. Isola doesn't know what to do now. The heroine falls into hysterics. She did not wish the servant harm. Death is not her fault. Suddenly, the girl realizes that she must not be caught in this room. Otherwise, they will think that she is a murderer. Since this morning, Isela has been swearing at Nancy, and now her body lies in her room. The girl cries and does not understand why she has such a fate. Suddenly, Karen appears in front of her, who asks why the blonde heroine is not in her chambers so late at night. She holds a lantern in her hand, saying that Isola is pale as a corpse. The girl sits on the floor and smiles nervously, thinking that she was caught. She is worried that Karen will think that she is a killer. Suddenly, the main character pays attention to her surroundings, points her finger behind the girl's back, and accuses Isola of killing her maid. The blonde girl cries and screams that she is innocent of this. The main character covers her mouth with her hand and sighs. She sees blood-stained clothes, pointing it out. Isola looks at her dirty hands. She understands that anyone who saw her now would think of her. The heroine closes her eyes and realizes that now she is definitely finished. Karen extends her hand to the disappointed blonde, asking her to come with her. The girl smiles good-naturedly and promises to keep her secret. Isola looks blankly at the main character and asks what secret we are talking about, extending her hand. Karen looks at her interlocutor knowingly and asks if she is menstruating. The girl was very surprised that the trail of blood led to the servants' room. She gives the girl a change of clothes, saying she was glad to help. Isola looks at the main character with suspicion, thinking that she probably doesn't know anything and perhaps arranged everything herself. Karen asks the blonde what scared her. She replies that something terrible happened in her room. They had never seen anything more terrible in their life, like a corpse with wide open eyes and her necklace around her neck. The girl sits awkwardly on the bed, and the main character asks about what she saw. Karen smiles widely, pleased with her interlocutor's fear. She asks if Isela saw the corpse. She jumps in fear and pretends that she does not understand what they are talking about. The main character explains that this is a very old building, and ghosts roam here at night. The girl becomes even more frightened when she learns about the presence of ghosts in this house. Karen says that this is the truth, because she also often has visions. The girl stirs the tea prepared for her, saying that over time the blonde will get used to it. The blonde girl looks at the floor, trying to comprehend the situation. The heroine takes a cup of tea in her hand, and taking a deep breath, relaxes and reassures herself that she probably just imagined it due to extreme fatigue. Isela, smiling slightly, asks her interlocutor to accompany her to her room. Karen smiles sweetly and agrees to fulfill the heroine's request. Standing at the door, the girl warns her not to be afraid of anything. She puts her hand on the door handle and says that there is nothing wrong here. Suddenly, a creak is heard, and Karen reassures the girl, because these are just visions. If the door to Isela's room opens now, there will be nothing behind it. Entering the room, the girls see absolute cleanliness. There really is nothing. The blonde sees a hat lying on the bed and pays attention to it. The heroine sighs with relief. She is glad that everything is fine. The girl picks up the top hat and smiles widely. Apparently, he confused her. Isela looks at her jewelry with a smile and thinks that maybe she was just worried about that strange maid. The blonde looks over her shoulder towards the main character, asking her if she can spend the night with her. The girl does not answer, and then Isela asks again with misunderstanding. Karen stands motionless, looking intently at the heroine. The girl grabs the main character by the hand, screaming loudly and calling her. The main character apologizes, saying that she will clean everything up here tomorrow. It's late, so she suggests they go to bed. The girl sits down on the rustic bed and wonders where the dead body went. Karen looks disappointed and doesn't know where her maid is. The main character is sitting on the sofa. The surroundings look cozy. Nancy is lying on the girl's lap. She says that finally they are alone. The girl, without hesitation, drank the sleeping pills. Karen gently strokes the maid's cheek. The maid has a day off on Sunday, so if she disappears, no one will notice. Karen smiles, hugging Nancy, wondering whether to spare her or be gentler, killing her quickly. She hasn't killed anyone for 100 years. The girl smiles widely, saying that she has died many times already. Extreme fear is visible on the maid's face. She grunts and tries to escape, but Karen holds her tightly and asks if everything is okay. The main character throws Nancy off her knees onto the floor, feigning apologies and saying that she will try to be more careful in the future. The maid continues to grunt and try to escape, her gaze falling on the necklace belonging to Isela. The girl is crying. Despair is visible in her eyes. Her death is inevitable. Karen holds the blonde girl's jewelry in her hand and says that Nancy hasn't changed after all. Throwing the necklace on the floor, she smiles broadly and says that since this is the very first time, she will do everything according to her conscience. The maid bends her leg, trying to move at least a little in order to have a chance to escape death. If Karen doesn't like this death, she will kill the servant next time. The girl's face shows sincere fear. She doesn't want to die at all. A girl with red hair pulls the scarf covering Nancy's mouth. The necklace is to blame. The main character's hands squeeze the sheet. She was sure that after this, the maid died. Karen rips the blanket off the bed and says she could clearly feel her breathing fading. The girl looks under the blanket, checking that Nancy's body is definitely not under it. She doesn't know why she disappeared. She remembers that Isela definitely spoke about a corpse in this room. And clearly the blonde girl was terribly scared, which couldn't happen just like that. Due to the influx of aggression, the main character tears the pillowcase in half. She does not know who dared to steal Nancy from her. The girl is aggressive. Someone dared to ruin her fun. She sits down on the floor, tired and disappointed, thinking that this is a real failure. The main character leans her head on the bed because she has been fussing with Aseka for about half an hour. Karen looks around the room, assuming that during this time someone managed to tidy everything up. The girl sits absolutely emotionless, not understanding how all this could happen. The main character clenches her hands and suggests that Nancy's murder was only a figment of her imagination. She looks at the floor, trying to take it all in. Maybe she just imagined that she killed Nancy. A clenched hand grabs the folds of light blue fabric. The girl asks herself if sweet revenge was just an illusion. Karen kneels on the floor in a dark room, saying she must be crazy. Bitter tears are dripping onto the floor. Anyone would go crazy, dying 100 times. The girl sits on her knees, holding her head with her hands. She begins to laugh hysterically. The main character cries no matter how crippled she is. She doesn't want to experience it anymore. Karen raises her hand, shouting to herself not to be fooled by imagining something that hasn't happened yet. The girl hits the floor with her fist, thinking that next time she will kill Nancy again in Isela's room. She looks at her hand, crippled from the blow, thinking that in this case she will not be able to fulfill her promise. The main character looks forward doomedly, deciding that she will try again. But this time it won't be Nancy, but some other person. An unknown man comes towards Karen in the corridor. He notices the girl and heads towards her. The man pays attention to her, surprised by the appearance of the main character in this place. She thinks she met a guy named Bowen sooner than she expected. He rushes to the girl, grabbing her hand and looking at her with excitement. Karen examines Bowen with hostility, but the man insists on treating and bandaging the wound. The girl pulls her hand away with a sharp movement, telling him that he shouldn't have done that. Her fiancé appears behind the main character. Dulan calls the man a bastard, and the main character thinks that he is whining again. The guy pokes his fingers in Bowen's face, yelling at him for touching his fiancé's hand. The girl catches herself thinking that he's not doing a good job of feigning jealousy befitting a groom. One cannot expect anything else from Dulan, because if he were not so clumsy, then there would already be a different person next to her. Karen asks to bring Isola's breakfast to her chambers, and the main character herself will have breakfast in the hall, after which she says to leave her alone with her groom. The man accepts all the instructions and quickly moves away from the young couple. Dulan asks if the girl is trying to protect the servants from him. Karen tells him to go pray. A little later, she will come into his room for a couple of hours. But the guy disobeys her request and abruptly grabs her hand. The girl looks at the groom with irritation, thinking about how he dared to grab her in such a way. The main character clarifies what's the matter. He gets embarrassed, trying to say something. He finally makes up his mind and asks if he can bandage Karen's wounds. The couple sits opposite each other in a room with a fireplace. Peace and quiet reign around. Dulan holds the cotton wool in the tongs, carefully moving it over the girl's wound, trying not to hurt her. The girl shushes from the unpleasant sensations. No matter how painful it is, the wound needs to be treated in any case. The guy apologizes and looks down. He didn't want to hurt his fiancée. The main character looks at Dulan with indifference. His kindness does not particularly touch her. But despite this, she feels that their relationship has changed. The girl smiles faintly and thinks that she wants to make sure of this again. Karen moves closer to Dulan, asking if he thinks she's beautiful. The main character smiles widely. Various flowers hover around her, and she asks this question again. The guy is very embarrassed and asks in a trembling voice why the girl is doing this. She suddenly realizes that this is a reward for trying something new at the coming-of-age ball. For the first time in a century, Dulan has changed so much. At some point, Karen takes her hero into her palm. She tenderly kisses the guy's hand, saying that he is, after all, her fiancé. Taking her lips away from Dulan's hand, the main character smiles slyly. She provokes him. The guy puts his hand behind Karen's head, passes her thick red hair through his fingers. This obsession plagues him. He kisses the lady. The girl asks him to steal her from Raymond because she does not want to be with him. During the desired and tender kiss, the main character opens her eyes slightly, thinking about her future fate. She puts her hands on Dulan's neck, thereby pulling him closer to her. The girl hugs him tightly. Everything will end in death in the end. Isela holds her necklace in her hand. She doesn't know what she would do without it. The main character plays a musical instrument. Beautiful music is heard everywhere. A fair-haired girl asks if she said that this was a gift from her fiancé. For this little thing, you can buy a house in the capital. Without being distracted from her work, Karen says that she is happy for her interlocutor. Raymond showered Isela with expensive things, flowers, jewelry, luxurious dresses, but never promised to marry. Turning towards her interlocutor, the girl wonders if she really didn't notice something similar in her features. At this time, the blonde says that her fiancé is not at all like other men. Isla wonders why Karen is not the least bit jealous, even though she has never seen such gifts in her life. It seems to her that the girl is ignoring her, calling her arrogant in her thoughts. Sitting down on a chair next to the playing lady, the heroine asks why she plays the harpsichord when everyone around has already switched to the piano. The girl replies that she has been playing it since childhood, and she likes it better that way. Although the strings have already deteriorated, Karen refuses her interlocutor's offer to give her a piano. The blonde girl pouts and steps aside, thinking that she won't please. She remembers the moment of care from the main character. It made her happy yesterday. Despite her affairs and desires, the girl accompanied her to the bedroom. Isla shakes her head from side to side, trying to forget about her recent hallucination and the dead maid. She also thinks about the fact that she hasn't seen Nancy since then. The girl sits down on the chair next to Karen again and asks where her maid is. She replies that she probably doesn't want to show herself to the blonde because of yesterday's quarrel. Despite the logic of Karen's train of thought, the heroine says that this is unlikely to be the real reason. The girl lowers her gaze to the floor and says that she has some obsession about this. She says that this maid is gone because her throat was cut. A look of true fear appears on Karen's face. Isela throws up her hands. She understands that most likely this statement sounds crazy. The girl tries to calm herself down, saying that she probably just imagined it all. Even if the throat theory is true, Karen did not touch the maid's throat. She doesn't understand who could have done this, because when she was next to her for the last time, nothing like this happened. The main character thinks deeply and is shocked by the realization that someone could do such a thing. Isla walks back and forth around the room, seriously thinking about something. The girl puts her fingers in her mouth, thinking that perhaps Nancy took the day off. She doesn't know where the maid actually is now, but she really wants to see her. Since that fateful day, Nancy has not been seen by anyone. The heroine goes to the window, looking at the landscapes. She finds everything that is happening strange. The street is foggy, little can be seen. Isla spent the whole day looking for the maid, but her attempts were unsuccessful. Suddenly, something creaked nearby, and the girl turned around in panic at the sound. It turns out that this is just a fireplace. The logs in it quietly crackle. The girl exhales noisily, and with relief, she was very frightened by the sound. She places her hand on her chest, trying to rest and calm down. Suddenly, something noises again behind her, which makes the girl jump and get even more scared. A servant enters the room. She holds in her hands a letter intended for Lady Evans. The sender of the letter is Raymond Sayertes, the girl's fiancé. The heroine's eyes light up with happiness and surprise. She is glad to receive this letter. Suddenly, Isla frowns and extends her hand towards the maid with the letter, telling her to give it to her immediately. A couple of days later, the main character comes to a charming park. The sun is shining. There are a lot of people around. A girl named Donna went with Karen. She is a laundress and her personal maid. She is happy that the ladies came to this place, admiring everything around. Crossing her arms, the girl with red hair thinks that she should find the one who cut Nancy's throat. Unfortunately, she will have to go to a coming-of-age ceremony for this. Once in one of her lives, the girl tried to avoid this, but nothing good came of it. Covering her face with her hand, the main character assures that this time everything will be different. The girl looks with interest at the decorations at the fair. After the death of her previous maid, Donna takes her place. The driver buys her the desired jewelry. He likes it. Karen watches all this from the side and thinks that she liked Nancy more. Raising her head to the sun and looking up, blocking the bright rays with her hand, she thinks that at least something new has appeared in her life. She invites everyone she came with to stop by on the way to the circus, because Donna wants this. The main character waits on the side when Donna calls the guard to come with them. She reflects that she has never been to the circus with Nancy, but once they went to a concert. Karen takes her new maid by the arm and suggests heading towards the circus. Bowen reluctantly walks forward. The girls follow him, smiling happily as they do so. They make eyes at the security guard, begging him to come to the show. Ultimately, the man gives up and heads to the box office to buy tickets. The girls rejoice. The girls enter an unknown room and are told to occupy themselves with something. They are in an expensive store. Donna says that she did not expect that they would actually go to a circus performance. Karen wonders why she thinks that way. The girl touches the feather on one of the hats, saying that usually no one fulfills the servant's requests. Donna tries on the main character's hat, asking if she thinks the estate has too many servants. She straightens the bow and explains that there are quite enough servants, but for some reason the owners continue to recruit new people to work. But when Mr. Evans and his daughter arrived, even this huge amount was no longer enough. Karen asks if they force the servants to work. The girl also tries on one of the hats and replies that that is not the case. Sir Verdict and Lady Isola arrived, and with them a bunch of servants. The girl says in disappointment that there is now twice as much laundry. Donna upsetly asks when the guests will leave them. The main character hopes that soon. Karen is confident that they will not disappear until they destroy their family. The washerwoman says that Sarah recently complained about Lady Evans. The girl emotionally says that she did not put the letter on the silver tray. Karen sighs and says that the Hare family is very poor. Donna shamefully lowers her eyes, saying that this is not what she meant. The main character strokes her head, reassuring her that this statement was just a joke. The girl stops being embarrassed, and then Karen orders her to laugh immediately. The room is filled with loud laughter. The girl with red hair looks appraisingly from the side. Donna radiantly and broadly clarifies whether her mistress was really joking. The girls are happy together. They feel good in each other's company. Karen thought that nothing special would happen since all the maids were the same. But apparently, Nancy's death really changed something. The main character looks at her new servant, advising her to take a hat instead of a cap, since it will be hot in the summer. The girl looks at the bows lying on display and asks if it is worth decorating the hat with a ribbon. The maid admires the hat in the mirror, her eyes sparkling with the beauty of this thing. The only thing that really matters now is not the eternally unchanged Raymond, but a maid who can bring something new into her life. Donna picks up the plaid scarf, asking her mistress what she thinks of it. She says that she would like to give this wardrobe item to a woman named Madame Dear. Karen is surprised that the girl knows this person. The maid laughs, thinking that the mistress is laughing at her, because how can she not know her? The main character thinks about who this Madame Dear is, because she has not heard anything about her. The girl asks in surprise if she remembers this woman, since she was Karen's mentor from the age of 8. The lady puts her hand to her chin, trying to remember this woman, but nothing comes of it. She doesn't remember her mentor. It probably happened before the girl got into this body. Donna tries to help remember, saying that she taught the hostess etiquette and ballroom dancing. The girl asks again if she really doesn't remember this, and then it dawns on the main character that she remembered. Madame Dear lives nearby. Donna thought that Karen would want to drop by, but it seems she was mistaken. She worked on the estate for 8 years, but this is the first time in 100 years that the girl has heard this name. Boring everyday life and people who don't influence anything, but every little thing is important. The main character joyfully looks out the window because she realizes that any change can save her. Bowen storms into the store, announcing that the show will begin soon. Donna happily leaves the store, planning to rush to the show. Karen leaves the store, looking at the sky, thinking about that same Madame Dear. She doesn't know what this woman can change, but perhaps this is the main clue. The girl smiles sincerely. She can't wait to meet her as soon as possible. The show begins. All the guests take their seats. The girl stands on a swing high above the ground. Karen looks at her, thinking that she too fell like her. She is upset that the fall did not help her die. The main character, flying down from a great height, prayed for the end of her suffering. Suddenly, a man catches the artist's hand, preventing her from falling and breaking. He hangs on the swing, holding it with his legs. The girl slowly swings in the air. People around admire this number, and Karen thinks that during her own fall, there was no one to grab her hand. The artist flies in the air, smiling broadly for the audience. She enjoys doing this. The main character tries to concentrate and not think about the bad, because she is seeing the spectacle for the first time. A man walks past a group of people carrying cold beer and popcorn for visitors, and a girl calls him over. She orders 1 beer. The guy hands it to her and tells her to be careful because it's easy to spill. Donna wants it too, but Bowen, who is monitoring the situation, says that the mistress can only have 1 glass, and the maid still has a lot of work to do today. The presenter announces that the highlight of the program, the eared guest, will now appear on stage. A giant animal is shown on stage. An elephant slowly walks forward. People look at it, surprised at its large size. This animal is called an elephant, and it uses its elongated nose as a hand. The elephant begins to perform a rehearsed act, picks up chairs with its trunk and spins them in different directions. Suddenly, he accidentally drops one of the chairs, and strong emotions are visible on the animal's face. The trainer takes the whip in his hand, saying that this is the best cure for disobedience. He hits the animal, watching the act of violence. Karen thought of something. They are very similar to this elephant. Fate forces them to suffer, leaving no other choice. People rejoice, asking to hit the elephant again. The whip overtakes the animal and the main character over and over again. The girl doesn't understand why all these people are laughing so much, because in the elephant's place, people weren't having so much fun. Suddenly, Karen drops her beer. The elephant reacts to the elephant breaking glass. The male trainer tells the elephant that he has done something wrong again. The main character is surrounded by servants. Everyone asks if everything is okay with her. She offers to leave because, in her opinion, the circus is somehow boring. Donna says that the lady herself wanted to go to the circus, and Bowen explains that now will be the most interesting part of the program. The man carrying the beer says the shows here are always very exciting. The girl straightens her hair and explains that she doesn't consider it worth the slightest attention. The light falls on the lady's earrings, reflecting the light. The huge animal takes notice of this and looks towards the lady. The girl touches her chin and thinks in her head that first the elephant reacted to the sound of breaking glass, and now to her earrings. She looks at the battered animal and thinks that maybe the elephant is smarter than it seems. She smiles widely, thinking that she wants everything to turn out this way. The main character looks into the eyes of the beast and wonders if it can do something. The elephant begins to rebel, stands on its hind legs, and makes loud noises. The trainer is very frightened, but before he has time to realize everything, he finds himself crushed. The organizers are running around the hall and asking people not to worry, telling them to leave the dome as soon as possible. A gigantic crowd of people is rushing towards the exit, screaming loudly and worrying for their lives. The servants take Karen by the arms, saying that she needs to leave, but she watches with interest the actions of the elephant. She smiles and tells the animal that he is doing everything right. The main character wants the elephant to get rid of everything that is holding him back. The girl cannot take her eyes off the animal. She wants it to find freedom. The elephant screams loudly and steps forward, breaking the boards under its weight. The beast approaches Karen's observation deck. He heads towards the main character. The servants cling to their mistress and scream loudly, afraid of dying. The elephant's huge foot is heading towards the girl's head. She is not at all afraid of this, because she will not be able to escape anyway. Something happened, and the guard and the maid close the eyes of their mistress, and she, in turn, orders them to stop. Her eyes open, and the girl sees something in front of her that really surprises her. The main character sees a dead elephant lying at her feet. She asks to release the beast. The girl comes closer to him. It is no secret to her who did it. The man selling beer comes up and asks if everything is okay. The role of the killer has been assigned to a certain figure. A man roughly pushes the girl aside, telling her to move away. The main character is indignant and very worried. She is looking somewhere. It turns out that the girl was looking at the exit from the circus dome, looking for a certain person there. Karen knows for sure that this was done to the elephant by a person she knows. This guy wears luxury shoes on his feet. He is called the Golden Devil, a sharpshooter. He is also the main character of the novel and the betrothed of the girl with red hair. This man does not yet know Karen's name and has never seen the girl herself. It turns out that all this was said about the hero, Raymond Sayartaz. It's getting dark. The sky turns pink. The sun slowly sets over the horizon. Small houses are finally bathed in the sun's rays. The main character runs along an empty street, thinking that everything that is happening has been brewing from the very first page. The moment Raymond appears in front of Karen, the whole world will begin to end. The girl runs past people. She must grab her last chance. The main character thinks that she urgently needs to get to Madame Dear. This must be done before all changes are erased. The girl continues to run forward, breathing heavily. This time, everything could really change. For the first time in 100 years, the heroine was able to see a real elephant. But the animal died, and Karen did not. So now she must find a way for the two of them. The girl runs to a dark, deserted street that people usually avoid. The main character looks at this street and doubts whether she should go there or not. The last time she passed here, she was attacked. Karen has a little more time, And in general, if she has already met Raymond, then there is nothing to be afraid of. The girl takes an uncertain step forward, although she is confident. But deep down, she is still worried. After all, after walking along this road, the main character will get to Madame Deer's house. The hand of an unknown person blocks Karen's view. The person asks where she is rushing. The girl turns towards the people. They mockingly suggest that she must be from a rich family. The man strokes Karen's cheek, asking questions about her age and whether she has a husband. The main character pushes away the offender's hand, thinking to herself that she's in trouble for the second time. She thinks that she has already met Raymond, and this should not have happened. Perhaps everything that is happening is the result of changes, or the circus does not count. The offender continues to pester the girl, asking what she is thinking about. Suddenly, the words of a dark-haired man, interrupted by his friend, say that this is the daughter of a lord. He believes that Karen is a God-blessed lady. The main character grins when she hears the word blessed. Her mother said that this baby would be the luckiest woman in the world, but Karen thinks that's funny. The girl is tired of this life because she can't even die normally. The dark-haired man grabs the main character by the hands, saying that he will let her go only because she is the daughter of a lord. But everything has its price. The girl resists, trying to break free from the grip. The man shouts to his accomplice to look for her. The heroine regrets that she took this path. She did not think that everything would turn out this way. Karen grabs one of the thugs by the ears, screaming at him, while the other one searches her wallet. He shows them that there is nothing in him. Greatly surprised by this, a dark-haired man pushes the main character, then falls and moves away. The offenders begin to quarrel among themselves. One of them hits Karen, shouting at her because she has a lot of jewelry but doesn't have a penny in her pocket. The girl loses her temper when her hair is ruined because it takes a lot of time to style. It was Nancy's masterpiece. The bandit is very surprised to hear his name from the lady's lips. When the main character gets up, she says that if she gives up all the jewelry, the offender's wife will not stop despising him. She says that if he beats her, he will be shot. She doesn't care about that. The dark-haired man pushes his accomplice. They say that the girl is crazy and asks him to shut her mouth. Another man swings and slaps Karen, who shows no emotion. She sighs, calling the blonde man's name. The girl says that if Thomas dies, his daughter will go to her house to work as a dishwasher. Karen says that after this, she will get sick and die. The men are very frightened by this statement. Suddenly, one of the bandits takes out a folding knife and is about to go towards the girl. She looks at everything that is happening, thinking that perhaps the end will be the same. When Karen is in danger, Raymond saves her. No matter what happens, that remains the same. The main character screams at the offender, provoking him to aggression. She expects that her betrothed will soon appear and save her. Suddenly, the man's knife plunges into Karen's body, and her eyes open wide. The main character's blood is on the knife and hands of the fair-haired man. The girl falls to the ground in pain, while the bandits quarrel among themselves and sort things out. Karen thinks that it was a miscalculation. Instead of Nancy, it is now Donna, so it is difficult to predict when she will be rescued. She sits on the ground, shaking and whimpering from the oncoming and penetrating pain. The girl doesn't understand why she couldn't get used to the pain. Suddenly, one of the bandits closes her mouth and plans to get rid of her. The dark-haired man shouts at his message to act quickly. The girl wonders if she will die here. A man named Thomas swings a knife at the main character, cold sweat breaking out on his face. Suddenly, a bullet shoots through the head of the offender, and he falls. The girl sits and holds her cut stomach, saying that salvation came too late. She grins, a thought popping into her head. After all, it's strange to tell your savior that she is not happy to meet you. Raymond approaches Karen, asking if everything is okay. He fell in love with her at first sight. The girl closes her eyes. She doesn't want to see him. Everything is the same as 100 years ago. The guy sits on one knee to be on the same level as the crippled heroine. Raymond and Karen are back together. A man stands in a gray shirt. His blonde hair flows in the wind, and his green eyes are directed downwards. He was not a noble knight, but he always sought to protect ordinary people. Raymond worked as a sniper, but this job does not give him honor. Once he killed one captain, taking his life with a well-aimed shot. People screamed in panic. After the first successful mission, a barrage of criticism fell upon him, because only cowards shoot from behind cover. After each successfully completed mission, criticism towards Raymond became less and less. The guy was able to kill 300 people single-handedly. This blonde man became a national hero. He is known under the pseudonym Golden Devil. There were rumors that he had made a contract with a demon to achieve perfect marksmanship. His subordinates admired him, but over time, suspicion gave way to respect. The guy has a close subordinate named Xenon who is always with him. The subordinate offers Raymond to eat dried meat. Even though it is a simple food, the guy thanks him for it. Anyone who knows the blonde man will agree that this creepy nickname does not suit him at all. The guy eagerly eats the food brought. I inform him that breakfast needs to be at a certain point by 2. Zeno thinks that he always works alone. Raymond invites his servant to visit the wounded man first. He always takes care of his servants and associates. The girl does not understand why he was destined to meet her. Having met Zeno, the guy tells him to bring water and bandages. He runs off to get the necessary items to treat the wound. It is not typical for Raymond to wander the streets of the city. Zeno turns around to check that the girl is okay. The main character assumes that this guy himself wounded her. The guy smiles contentedly. Sitting in the carriage, Karen lies on the lap of her betrothed, and the servant sits opposite. Donna says she treated the wounds as Raymond asked, but there are some problems. The girl asks what this man was doing on the territory of Lord Hire. He replies that the reason is a personal matter. He adds that his fiancée is here now. The maid's eyes light up. But when she hears that the bride is Lady Isla Evans, she falls into a stupor. Karen starts coughing, so her servant kneels in front of them, asking if she's okay. The guy explains that the corset took the blow, so the wound is not too deep. If she is still worried, you can remove the brace and check the wound. The main character jokingly says that the guy is not slow. He gets embarrassed and replies that he doesn't mean it that way. Donna jumps up and screams that the guy is behaving wrong, but he makes an excuse with a joke. Suddenly, the carriage hits a stone, thereby bouncing. Karen sighs from the jolt. Severe pain pierces her. The guard shouts that the girl is not at all okay, but Raymond explains that her life is not in danger. The pain does not mean anything, because the cuts also hurt. The girl smiles and sarcastically asks what, in his opinion, he considers this wound to be just a cut. The guy didn't mean to be sarcastic. He just says that the wound is not fatal. Karen turns away, closing her eyes. She didn't mean to be sarcastic either. It seems like she's about to pass out. Donna's eyes are wet. The girl is very worried about her mistress. She will think that she has been nagging because of nonsense. The main character sticks on her elbow, and then Raymond inquires about her well-being. The girl is surprised by this question, because given that she is bleeding, it is probably bad. Lowering his eyes to the floor, the guy says that he is not very eloquent and does not know how to calm down at all. The main character sighs, thinking that Raymond is just another victim of the plot. He does not deserve anger. Suddenly, the hero says that he hasn't gone anywhere for 10 years. Karen is filled with anger because she hasn't gone anywhere for 100 years. Lying back on her betrothed's lap, the girl says that it was fun, but he doesn't understand what she means. The main character saw an elephant for the first time in her life. It was huge and beautiful. She can't believe that creatures like this one walk the earth somewhere. Karen remembers today with a smile on her face. It was incredible. Raymond is very happy that the girls liked the performance. Donna cries if the lady has never seen an elephant, then it's her fault. The girl bursts into tears. Her voice trembles greatly. The lady asks her to calm down and be quieter. She holds her mistress by the hand. It is not known what would have happened if Sir Raymond had not drunk. The girl squeezes the heroine's hand even harder, thinking that this is fate. Karen reflects that the characters followed the script, accepting the development of the plot as something natural. The main character asks the girl whether she thinks that fate is too cruel to her. She moves closer to the maid's face, telling her that she almost died twice today. Turning to Raymond, Karen asks if she's wrong. The next day, Isela's room has a huge number of dresses laid out everywhere. She shouts to the servant to bring another robe, as this one is not elegant enough. The maid offers a white and pink dress with large bows. Islu is not happy with this, because it is too simple. She is indignant, saying that plebeians have no taste at all. The girl lowers her eyes and apologizes. Isela's father appears in the doorway. He asks not to cut from the shoulder. The girl rushes into the arms of her parent, crying loudly because Sir Raymond saved Lady Hare. The man does not understand the reason for the tears, because by doing so, the guy set an excellent example for all the knights. Isola is worried that Karen is more beautiful than her. What if her fiancé falls in love with this girl? The father jokingly says that if Sir fell in love with every lady he met, he would have a harem for future use. For the nobility, marriage is a transaction. Love in this enterprise is completely secondary. The man asks why he would cancel the wedding in favor of a lesser family. He takes his daughter by the shoulders, reassuring her that such a development of events is difficult to imagine. Isola thinks that her father thinks this way because of this, that he expects others to seek benefits in everything, just like he does. Suddenly, the man moves closer to his daughter. Why is she so nervous upon arrival? Looking over her shoulder at the maid, he asks if she is being treated badly here. The girl, sobbing, explains that she had a nightmare. She saw the corpse of a maid named Nancy who served Karen Hare. The man moves away, wondering if this maid actually exists. He sits his daughter on the sofa, offering to call her, because seeing the maid alive and well, she will immediately forget about all the nightmares. Isola lowers her head and says that she disappeared somewhere 2 days after they arrived at this house. The man is surprised by what he heard, because quite a long time has passed since their arrival. The girl fearfully tells her father that she hasn't seen Nancy since I saw her corpse. On the dressing table, next to the cosmetics, there are plates of delicious snacks, cookies, muffins, and sweets. One of the servants, helping Karen tie her corset, says that she should not change maids like gloves. However, at the same time, she should seriously think about candidacy for Nancy's place, says the main maid, Helen. Donna is not yet ready to be near a noble lady. The main character asks if she has not served her well.